Here we go. I believe, are live on my Facebook page for today's weekly Get Your Shit Together live podcast. Yes, we are. Okay. Okay. Now it's working. It's functioning. We're finally live. So,
Yay.
right? I want to start off with asking everyone by a quick show of hands, who here is a spiritual woman, maybe a mom, who's been treating her business like an expensive hobby because good girl voice keeps whispering, not yet. You're not ready. If you're thinking or saying, yes, that's me, you're definitely in the right place. I'm Yana Kasperczak. I'm a founder of Empathy Unicorn Academy and a host of this podcast, Get Your Shit Together. And I help spiritual women who are tired of treating their business like a hobby and ditch the good girl conditioning, reprogram their mindset, and finally build a profitable, soul aligned businesses they're obsessed with. Most importantly, without the hustle, without the burnout or the self doubt. Because the truth and the reality is that you don't need another cookie cutter strategy. You need confidence, you need energy, you need inspiration, motivation, and a reminder, and of course, the support to show up as the real, true, authentic you. And that's exactly what I'm here to help you do through this podcast. And today, I have a guest speaker, as you can all see, Karey Harris, who is a school principal, powerhouse of a leader, and a host of Wheatfields Wisdom and Whiskey podcast herself. So definitely check that one out. And Karey is the real life proof that you can run a whole school, host and also host an honest as hell podcast, and still keep a life that she doesn't completely implode, that she doesn't hate, that based on what I can tell, that she loves and obsessed about. So
Oh,
today I'll have Karey share a few things about her life, about her journey, and where she was, where she is, how she get to where she is, and anything good and juicy in between. So let's dive right in. And Karey, welcome. Tell us where you currently are in your life right now and how the heck you got here.
well, thanks for that introduction. And this is going to be intriguing and so much fun. I honestly loved the way you started the podcast today, this live, because you mentioned something about being in alignment and just sort of alluding to that trust and stepping into your full power. And that for me has been a journey. We all as spiritual women and as women in general, whether we say we're spiritual or not, we all have an inner knowing. And that's been there for me since I was really young. And I almost felt a little bit out of place because I would not necessarily see things, but I would know things about situations or people or how I was feeling before other people did. And so you navigate life, at least for me, kind of being poo-pooed when you know things that other people don't. And
Yep.
so there was always this inner knowing and this inner path that I knew I was meant for more. And I know that sounds very cliche, but what I mean by that is, what do you know as a woman that's right for you? And for me, it was always stepping into the next step. So sometimes in my life, I didn't even know that things were coming to me, but people would shoulder tap me. So there's always signs. You know the signs, and people and the universe also gives you signs if you're willing to pay attention.
Mhm.
Sometimes, I knew what I knew and I shut it down and I didn't step into my true power. To certain levels I did, but in the last probably, 7 or 8 years of my life when things have in my life have changed a lot, I've completely transformed so many things. I've really fully just aligned with who I am and the things that I love to do. And I've learned really well through some hard friggin' life lessons not to force things, but to follow the flow and to
Mhm.
trust your inner guidance and then to really just embrace who the hell you are without apologizing about it. People will say to me, "Well, you're like this sparkle queen." Yeah, I am. It means I love sparkly things, but more than that, it's about celebrating life. There's an inner spark in each one of us, and I love letting that out and just celebrating women, celebrating children, celebrating people because we got one life. And it's like, why are we playing small? So let's not do that. So where I am now is, I feel like I'm now into a new era of, I've created a new version of myself that I'm embodying, not only as a leader, but as a voice for women, for the world to be, we're all unique individuals, and that's a friggin' celebration. We're all magical. And I know that sounds cliche, but when you really know it, and you listen to the guidance, trust your own path, don't compare yourself to anyone else, the doors just open up and things just start flooding in. And then you're on the right path because more opportunities come, more doors are opening, and you feel different. When I was in situations of, relationships that didn't serve me in particular, man, forcing something that doesn't work didn't work out so well.
Yeah.
But at the same time, I'm so grateful for it, Yana, because I wouldn't be this strong woman that I am if I hadn't gone through the shit that I've gone through.
Well, the shit is what molds us
Totally.
and folds us and bends us or breaks us if we allow it to,
Yeah, totally. And that
right?
was never me to play victim. It's a process. And Glenda Bogolki's work on are you a victim? Are you a survivor? Are you a warrior? I think I've always been a warrior. There's times
Mhm.
in every part in our life, I think, where you do play a bit of victim. I mean, I think that's natural human beings, right? It's like a little bit of like, ooh, woe is me. Why did this happen? Why not? Why not can't it happen to you? So when you go through that process of life and you learn the lessons along the way, you become just such a strong person and somebody that just really speaks their truth. And this word authentic, it's not that it's overused, but it's like you can tell because I say my bullshit-o-meter is really high. I can tell when somebody's not being authentic. But for me too, I
Mhm.
had points in my life where I wasn't. I had the check boxes, the white picket fence, and I'm just using cliche phrases, but the white picket fence, the right job, the marriage, the two children, one boy, one girl. I had all the things on paper. But there were times when I wasn't happy because I
Yeah.
wasn't in alignment. I wasn't following my truth. I was following the voices of someone else,
Yeah.
what they wanted, or, those moments where we're insecure about, gosh, I know this is my path. I know it, but it's like, ooh, should I? Shouldn't I? And you question yourself. And now I
Yeah.
just don't do that. You just keep stepping into being who you really are and just trusting your own path and just being 100% authentic, like this is what you get. And if you
Hmm.
don't like it, I don't care.
Yeah, and it's true, right? We don't live for anybody else. We live for ourselves.
Yeah.
Nobody knows our thoughts, our wants, desires, our needs, even the way that we talk to ourselves, the way that we punish ourselves, the way that we motivate ourselves. Nobody knows those things. Even the way that we would talk down to ourselves and bully ourselves. Nobody knows those ways. And also, nobody really knows where we even got all of those ways that we treat ourselves. We
Mhm.
have an idea, but we can't blame any one particular person or experience for the way that we are, for the way that we think or don't think.
Mhm.
It's all within us and within that program that we received in the first few years of our life that we ourselves don't know that we have it. And then as we continue to awaken, as I like to refer to it, because we go through, even mentally, our brain waves are in a different states as we, you know, as we are in the womb, then we're born, and so on and so forth, up until the last day. Our brain waves are in different state, which means that there's going to be stages of our brain where it begins to wake up and see and notice and recognize that there is that self, that I am here. Whereas when we're little, we don't have the separation between me and you. If like you, when your kids were growing up, when let's say you're upset, you're crying, or you got hurt, you're crying, your kid comes to you and they're crying with you, they're upset with you, they are you in that moment because there's not, that separation is not there yet. And then as they, after the age of 7, this is where they begin to separate. This is mommy and her pain, and this is me. I feel sad for mommy, and
Mhm.
I will help mommy, right? Or I won't. I'll let mommy do what she does, depending on the kid. Every kid is different, right? So, and then you start to recognize that I am here, and you have your own likes, dislikes, interests, curiosities, and yet there's that programming that you're bouncing everything against. And then, as one of the moments that you were talking about, we all get to this place that we can either whine and cry and bitch and complain about the situation we're in and go down that rabbit hole, that darkness, or pull up our big girl pants on, or put our big girl pants on and say, okay, fuck, this sucks, but this is
Yeah.
it.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
so what now what?
So
Right?
true.
So when was that moment in your life, would you say, that was the, it's never really fully the last time, but the last time that was so loud, and loud in the way maybe you even felt obnoxious, where you put on your big girl pants and said, I'm done playing small, I'm done catering, I'm done with this program. Now I'm going to do whatever I said I wanted to do. When was that moment for you?
Yeah, I've had a couple of those over the last 8 years for sure. I would say in
Mhm.
the last 14 months, particularly, it's like going to a new level, where I've always said you're 100% responsible for your life. And that has been ingrained in me, and it's something I've felt, but I really got it like 14 months ago. Really got it. I was in a situation with a relationship that just wasn't healthy. And, talking about should we go, should we stay, and all of those things, and the fear in your head of like, this is a relationship that didn't work. Now, I'm divorced. This is the second one. Like, am I a failure? And there was just a moment, Yana, where I just in my mind and in my soul, I knew I couldn't stay. And so loving somebody, even in hardships, means letting go.
Yeah.
And so I let him go, and I freed myself. And I said in that moment, when I was walking out the door, he said, we could work this out. And I said, yep, we could. But that means I choose you and not me. And I'm not doing that again. Because when I don't choose myself, so for anyone listening, when you do not choose yourself, and it's not selfish, it's about being who you're meant to be. And if you're not in the right situation, whatever that is, job, career, relationship, I don't care. Walk away, and walk away not in shame, but in pride,
Yeah.
because you are meant to be who you are meant to be. And if something's not serving you, we have to get out of this programming from society that we need to stay in things that don't serve us because this is the way it's done, or my mom's beliefs were this, or whatever. You got to cut the crap and look at who you are. And that was what hit for me. It was like I've done this a few times in my life where I've transformed, I've ascended, you do the stuff. But this last time was through a lot of introspection and really claiming my own truth and my own power and not apologizing for it and just stepping fully into it. And since then, there is nothing in my life that is the same, really. Honestly,
Yeah.
it's just completely expanded, exploded in ways that I haven't couldn't imagine and still have yet to see where it's going. And I think that was that moment where I said, yeah, this is my life. Yeah, it sucks. This is going to be hard, but I'm strong enough and I'm going to do this. And now, yeah, here we are.
Yeah, I love that. It makes me think of a quote that I'm sure you've heard, and many listeners and viewers have heard this one. I know I say it often. We all got to choose our hard, right? The hard and the pain, right? The hard and the pain of change, or the hard and the pain of staying the same.
Hmm.
So when we finally choose, and when we don't choose, we're living like we're in limbo. And this is why I also love that you said it's not just a one moment, that there was many, because that this is the truth, this is the reality. We're not gonna get the lesson, we're not gonna understand it right then and there, right in the moment. It's gonna take us some time to relearn the lesson in many different ways until we finally get it, until we're like, oh, that makes sense.
Hmm.
I get it now. And the moment that you say that, guess what? There's going to be now preparation of you and your next level of getting that same thing that you already got. And throughout
Hmm.
this process, we forget a lot of things that we get, right? The things that we learn. It's like, how many times do we need to remember until we forget, until we finally remember that thing? So there's been many times, and this is where these moments that you're talking about, those are the moments that you remembered who
Hmm.
you truly are,
Absolutely.
and you stepped into them, or
Mhm.
you didn't, and then you live with the choice and the consequences of that choice.
Absolutely. And I mean that's just life, as bare bones as that sounds, it's true. It's just life. If you don't make a decision, sometimes a decision will get made for you. The universe, God, spirit, whatever you say, will take care of it for you. They'll move the mountains out of the way or they'll knock you on the head a few times until you figure it out. But
Exactly.
you know what I mean? And I think too, the other thing, Yana, is like I'm not bitter about it, even when I talk about this relationship or the things that in my mind you had planned in your life and they didn't work out that way. I am nothing but grateful because I would not be who I am if those things had not happened or the way they happened or in the time in which they happened. And I've learned so many lessons, from all of those things that maybe society says are failures on paper. I don't even believe in that word. I think that's
Yeah.
just a bunch of, malarkey. What is that? That is really just that we learned. It doesn't mean that you failed because something doesn't work for you. That's fine. I think that's great, and so just acknowledge that and do that inner work. And that was for me a lot of introspection, a lot of reflection, and a lot of messiness, figuring out, getting really clear on who I am, what I want, and trusting my own gut knowing instead of, looking at, well, this is what it means to be a leader, or this is what it should be like at this point in my life, or whatever. I just cut all the crap.
Mhm.
Honestly,
Yeah.
which goes with your podcast. Get your shit together. Cut the
I
crap,
know.
people.
Cut the crap. Get your shit together. Stop bitching and whining, complaining. Put the cookie down.
Yeah, all of that.
All right, we gotta do that sometimes. So, on the spirit of get your shit together and put the cookie down, the times that you didn't put the cookie down, meaning the times that you said no to yourself and you said yes to someone else, what were those times like for you?
Ooh, roller coaster, people. Roller coaster. And you all out there listening know this too because you felt it. I know you have. It's moments of darkness. And then it's the light comes out, and then it's a roller coaster of really doing the inner work. Not easy, messy, but also, like I said, getting really, really clear on it and just being okay with whatever shows up. Um, a
Mhm.
lot of, I don't want to say the word meditation, but a lot of introspection, meditation, sitting with myself, being alone, like really being alone. I wasn't lonely, but being alone so that I
Mhm.
could figure out stuff without distraction. Like it's like now I got to figure this out. But also, it's not up to me only. It's listening to the guidance, right? It's not that I need to force it anymore. I have to trust it. and kind of get into the messiness and know that, it's like all the universal laws of the world. There's going to be darkness, there's going to be light. There's going to be highs, there's going to be lows. There's going to be times where your health is great and times where it's not. And every one of those things is a lesson, and you don't have to stay there. You don't have to stay in the darkness, right? And when there's a high, you're grateful. When there's a low, you're grateful for that too. So I think that's how you get through some of those messy moments, but it was a lot of, it was a lot of work, and really getting into that inner knowing, just shutting things down and going, wow, okay, I'm 100% responsible. Guide me, show me the way. What do I also want to create? Because it's a co-creation. It's a
Yeah.
co-creation of what we want to bring into the world, and stepping into the full embodiment and truth of who you are, And that's so great because when you don't, you always know. And then it keeps showing up. Like I said, if you're not being true to yourself and not in alignment, it will keep showing up, whatever it is.
Yeah.
Things aren't flowing. Poor relationships until you learn the lesson again. Maybe it's, money issues. Maybe it's something with your health. Your body also has so much wisdom, it'll tell you. If you're not feeling good when you're with that person, that might be a clue,
Yeah.
right? Or a job or a friendship or something that just is out of your alignment. And that's tough. It's harder to not be yourself than to be yourself.
Yeah. But most people are scared, and that's actually a great way of looking at it and reminding everyone that people are scared of being themselves
Mhm.
because of what they have experienced in their past that resulted in.
Mhm.
That's why there are people who didn't go through the life experiences that we went through. They had as some would refer to as a cushy life. They had the parents, the help, the support, the teachers, everything was working out great for them and everything was provided for them. But that does not mean that they have an easy, cushy life. Absolutely
Absolutely.
not. Those often might be the ones that don't because they didn't get the experiences that you did. And um initially it might your mind is the one that is fooling you, that is tricking you and telling you that it's easier to pretend to be this version of you for this person, this version of you for that person, for that person, for that person. But in my experience, this is the path that is going to lead you down a dark path,
Mhm.
down a place, a path where you're going to experience a form of depression. And depression, I describe it as deep rest, right? When you're depressed, you're deeply resting. And what the part of you that is resting is that soul that is in this body that is now even the cells of this body are just tired and exhausted and confused of who the hell am I supposed to be? You want me to be this person for this person, for that person, for that person, for that person. Who am I among all of these roles that I'm playing? So that's why it's harder to be someone you're not and easier to be someone you are. But initially, it's going to be hard because you've never done this. You've
Yeah.
never lived life in this way where you choose yourself and your intuition, which most of you don't even know what your intuition is and how to read it and how to find it, how to tap into it. So, of course, not sure how to use it because most of your life you've been told, no, 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 your gut is wrong. I'm going to tell you how to think and feel. Don't trust it. That's wrong. So then, of course, you're not trusting yourself anymore. And among all the other lies that you told yourself, I'm going to do this. I'm going to wake up at 6 in the morning and you don't. So you lie to yourself. Then, of course, you don't trust yourself, right? Little by little, this is what you're now doing is you're learning to trust yourself and your intuition and being yourself and showing up as that version of yourself authentically. So how has that been for you, Karey, showing up as the true, authentic you and not giving a fuck of what anybody else says or thinks? Because,
Yeah. Yeah, you know what? It's so freeing. And I've had many times in my life where I've been different versions of myself. Not that those were wrong, it's just that you release those versions to upgrade to something else.
Yeah.
And so when you honor, truly honor who you are, and then let go of that version of yourself that no longer serves, it's okay. That part of me, although there's so many things that are the exact same as when I was a child, first of all, now I'm honoring them differently. But second of all, I've given myself permission to let the old versions go, to
Mm.
die. And by that is a spiritual thing. It's like that version of me is dead. And that sounds very scary. I don't mean death of the person. I mean that version is behind me now.
Yeah,
And
that's
so,
all.
you know, in my work with people and women and kids, when people hang on to the past, you can't go forward because you're stuck in the past. So it's about reprogramming, you know, reprogramming your subconscious mind, which is a lot of work because society tells us it's got to be a certain way. We're programmed with the music we listen to, the movies that we're watching, what other women say about other women, about the hustle, the grind, whatever stuff they throw at us. It's about, is that true? Is that
Mhm.
really true? And according to who says that? So
Yeah.
when
Whose
you know
truth
what I
is
mean?
that?
Yeah, so you kind of just start listening to yourself more and celebrating the past versions. I don't regret anything that was in my past as who I was because it led me to where I am now. And there's still pieces of me that, you know, as a child are coming out more and more. And it's exhilarating, it's freeing, but it's also those moments of like, as you alluded to, we have to get comfortable with the new version because it's new. So we got to step out of the comfort zone, people. You can't stay small. You got to spread your little wings, get out there and fly, and not on anyone else's terms, just on yours.
Yeah.
And that, I think, you know, I learned that from my dad. He still says this to this day. Well, and I grew up on a farm, so wisdom abounds. He always said, we're all unique individuals, whether it's your health, you know, your wealth, your values, how you look. We're all unique. We should celebrate that. And
Yeah.
that stays with me. And I appreciate that so much about, you know, living on the farm with my parents that I had because it was grounded, it was rooted, and that's still there. It's now just letting that seed really grow into the full tree, if that makes sense, or to the full harvest. It's like, here we are.
Yeah. That's beautiful. Letting that seed grow and watering it and taking care of it, right? Into what
Yes,
it's meant to
yes,
be,
yes.
which for some might be a reminder to pause and take notes of where you are and who you are. Because
Hmm.
many people don't fully know who they are. They know who they are in relation to their daughter, their son, their husband, their wife, their mother, their father, their friend. We know who we are in relation to a certain person or persons, but not in relation to who we are without all of those people and things,
So
just
true.
as we are. Yeah.
You know, and that was a big lesson for me too, Jan, is about um, just honoring myself because as women, you know, we get into roles, we have children, everybody else can come first. And so when we get into that place where we don't honor and keep the commitments with ourselves, that's when your soul starts to really get into that depressed state, start looking at the negative because you aren't staying committed to yourself. And that's been
Mm.
another big lesson in the last 8 years, but for me, especially these last 15 months, is I 100% am committed to myself. And if I'm going to do something that I say I'm going to do, which I always did before, but to a new level now, I'm damn well going to do it. And I come first on that list. So the boundaries are clear. Um, and keep the commitments with myself. So if I say I'm going to the gym, I'm going to the gym. Whether I'm tired, not feeling good, I'm going. If I say I'm going to do something, you know, I'm going to do a podcast every week and I'm going to reach out to this person or this person reaches out to me and we're going to connect, then I say, yeah, let's connect this week, not 3 months from now. Because I would do that in the past, right? I would put everybody else's needs, especially in the role I am, you know, as in a leadership role, as a mom, you know, former wife, all those things. You put by natural graces, you put everyone else first because you think, well, if I do that, then I'm being a good leader. I'm being a good mom. I'm being a good
Hmm.
whatever. In reality, it's when you start to kind of lose yourself. So you don't want to get to that place. You
Yeah.
want to step back up and say, you know what? If I've committed to something for me, I'm going to stick to it. And that has been a real game changer too. Just being consistent, making that decision and sticking to it. And then if it doesn't go exactly the way I planned, that's okay too. And I can still
Mhm.
celebrate the small wins. Okay, I said 7 days this week. I did six. Perfect. That's
Yeah.
okay. I don't have to beat myself up,
Hmm.
you
Beating
know?
ourselves up doesn't really help the situation. It makes it worse. It's like when you hit kid gets hurt, do you go and you beat them up more when they're hurt, or do you help and support them and then afterwards just check in and see if they learned the lesson? You're gonna do it again, but
Yeah,
not all at
I've
once.
repeated a few lessons.
We're supposed to. We didn't learn it the first time around, and we gotta give our kids grace as well, where they're gonna
Yes.
learn the same thing over and over and over again, and remind ourselves that I have this many years of experience and my mind living and thinking, whereas my kids have only this many years of experience of their mind living and thinking and rationalizing and making sense of things. Of course, they're not gonna know all the things that I know. And of course, they're not gonna get all the things that I sit down and quote unquote lecture them on, right? They're not gonna get it. But somehow the information will stay there as, as ink on their soul. And then
Yeah.
one day maybe they'll get it or not, right? And at the same time, their life is theirs, it's not mine. And just
Oh,
because I've given
girl.
it does not mean I can take it.
I love that. It resonates so well with me. Big
Mhm.
lesson. And planting the seeds for them too, because it is their own path. Everyone's got their own free will. You want the very best for every person you encounter, especially your children, like they're my heart and soul.
Mhm.
But at the end of it all, it is their path. And so we plant seeds. And I learned that from a very wise girlfriend of mine when, sometimes as a parent, you're wondering or your children make choices, you're like, not so sure. And my girlfriend said, Karey, you just plant the seed. Your kids are smart, they know, and they will figure it out. And she's right. It's like, you can offer the coaching lessons, you can offer the words of advice, and sometimes it's just subtle little seed and it resonates and they think about it and then it's like, okay, I get it
Yeah.
now. It's their lessons to learn, but that I also learned from my dad. He probably did a better job than I did. I liked to control things for a long time. And I learned I can't. I can only
Yeah.
control what I can control, not what anyone else is going to do. And that includes your kids, adult, young or not. It's like set the boundaries, give great values, walk the talk. They watch. They don't listen, they watch. And
Yeah.
that's a big thing. I just see how when I'm flourishing, my kids are flourishing, and it does make a difference. It doesn't matter what I say, it's what I do, and they see it.
Yeah. It's monkey see, monkey do, not
Yeah.
monkey say, monkey do.
Yeah. Yeah.
Right?
You got it, girl.
So, with everything that you have going on in your everyday life, do you have a daily simple ritual that you do every single day to make sure that you don't just survive through the day or get through the day, but you thrive through the day, that you don't reach burnout?
Yeah. Well, as a former workaholic, and I'm still on the verge of, I'm working, but it's different because it's different. It's intentionally different.
Mindset
Some
is
of the
different.
things
Yeah.
are the same. Some of the roles I play are still the same, but they're different. They're elevated in a different way. And I do have daily methods of operation. So I always start the morning with either a journal 5 or 10 minutes, or I'm just laying in bed and I'm doing a visualization of what I see for myself in the future or gratitude. So it kind of
Mhm.
depends on my mood. where I'm at, but I trust sometimes that that's right too. So I always start the day that way. And when I'm getting ready, I'm very intentional. It's like, what am I creating in this day? I think about it. I do a lot of listening to things like Neville Goddard, to any
Mhm.
guru or expert that resonates with me at that time, because I believe that was the message that I needed to hear. And so I even as I'm getting ready, I'm very intentional. And then I do some fun things to get my nervous system, and I've learned this in the last probably 2 years. I didn't realize how my nervous system was impacting my creation of life and what I was putting out magnetically. So now I do, and I've always loved dance parties for one. I do those in the morning. So it's like it might be something that's inspirational and I'm maybe singing at the top of my lungs, or it's like I'm a full on like, woo, the
And
day
here
is
on the
starting.
stage.
You never know. So my days always start like that. And then I do have, for lack of a better word, I set some goals for the week. They're more strategic actions that I know I need to take so that I don't get to the burnout stage. It's
Mhm.
like these are the things in each compartment of my life that I know I would love to do or that need to be done. And then kind of have that vision for the week. And then I end my days always the same. I'm in gratitude for a few minutes. I might be journaling. And if I find that it's a day where I'm busier, then it's in the car. It's on the commute home where it's like, oh my gosh, I'm looking for the things to be grateful for, visualizing in my head and just putting out the best energy that I can. And the other thing I really do intentionally now is set boundaries, stick to
Mhm.
my commitments to myself, and have that time where there's those boundaries, because I could work 24/7 in my leadership role. It doesn't really end. Like, people are a lot of work, right?
Right?
They just
Yeah.
are. I
Yeah.
could work 24/7, and I used to do that. But then you don't show up as the best version of you. And so by setting the boundaries now, it's like, okay, that's done for that part. That compartment is over. And now I move into the other part, whether that's the podcast or, the business part or the speaking, whatever it is. I kind of compartmentalize it, and yet it's all who I am, and I've just
Yeah.
learned so much about those pieces, and just staying really grounded when I feel the energy in myself going a little woo. I'm like, okay, now I need to just give myself permission to just chill out, pause, relax, and then get going again. You feel so much more energy. You get more energized out of taking the pauses.
Mhm.
It's a practice though. It's
Yeah.
not an automatic every day is just that perfect. It's got some ups and downs, but I work at it.
Yeah, and those pauses are very important. As you're
Very.
talking, like all I'm picturing today, for some reason, it's like all about racetracks. I had a coaching call earlier with a client, and racetracks were coming through, and now it's again racetracks. As you're talking about, those pauses, it makes me think of the pit stops in the race.
Yeah,
And then when they don't go into that pit stop, disaster can strike,
girl. Yep.
right? In our life, it's the same thing. Life gives us pit stops. You can keep going, you can keep pushing, but you know what's on the other side. That disaster, whether it's labeled burnout, overwhelm, stress, anxiety, or beating yourself up, didn't do enough, or whatever you say to yourself.
Yeah.
But it's important to honor those pit stops. Just like, because this is us honoring those pit stops, it's us honoring our own journey and path and making sure that we're doing everything that we're supposed to be doing in that particular moment for in that particular pit stop, so then we can keep going until the next pit stop, until the next one, until the next one. And we're gonna have a few of them. A few of
Hmm.
them in a day, a few of them in a week, in a month. We're gonna have ton of them. And what you're learning in that process is the very thing that you ask for, that we all ask for, is more patience. Right? We all want more patience. And the only way we're gonna get it is through practice and hands-on experience and earning that patience, meaning knowing how to be patient and
Yeah.
be patient. We're not just gonna be giving. It's like, here's a history book, go teach a class. You can't teach a class when you've never taken a history day in your life. Same thing here. You need to learn it, to earn it, to have
Mhm.
it, to keep it, to then show it. You can't tell
Mhm.
your kids be patient if you don't know how to be patient yourself. Monkey see, monkey do. We were talking about earlier. You gotta show patience, right? Many of you be like, show patience. How do you show patience? Great question. Figure that out. Essentially,
Yeah.
it's going to be the same for all of us, but a little bit different based on your different life life circumstances and the way that you live and everything. So, as we're getting close to our podcast for today, I wanted to ask Karey, you know, knowing what you know and experiencing what you've experienced throughout your whole entire life. I know there's usually at least one or few ages and stages that comes to mind where if you can go back to that young Karey
Mm.
in that particular moment and just whisper one big lesson to her that would change her whole entire life, what would that lesson?
Wow, we could start crying right now because when we honor that little, that little girl within us, when I think about it, when I go back, what resonates with me always is just, girl, don't dim your light for anyone else. Go out, be who you are, trust, and do not be afraid because you're divinely guided and supported.
Yeah,
And so that for me, when I look back, that would be the thing I would tell myself is like, just go be yourself and just trust, trust, and enjoy every friggin' second of the journey, which I have. So I
yeah.
think that would be my lesson to go back and say,
That would be a very great lesson. Now, the curious me, knowing the conversation also that we had with our kids, would that version of you hear that lesson?
yeah, the other big lesson I've learned for myself is, which I'm also really good at, which is also a gift, which I've been given, is to see in other people the potential that maybe they don't see in themselves. But
Mm,
that was also a reflection of me because I saw it, but not fully, or I didn't embrace it fully. So it was a gift I was given, but it was also a reflection. So, like a duality of like,
yeah.
girl, you see that in other people. What are you doing with yourself?
That means you have it within you. And why not?
Yep.
Right?
So within, so without, so without, so within, right? So
Yeah.
I think for me that's been a profound piece of wisdom that I've carried, and I'm just so really grateful.
Hmm. That's really powerful. And it's a great reminder to that young version of you that choose yourself and follow your own heart, follow your own dreams and wants and desires,
Mhm.
and stop being such a damn good girl.
Yeah, don't apologize for anything. Just go for it. Just live audaciously, boldly, and into whatever that means for you. Why does nobody else actually gives a shit, to be honest? You think they do? They
They
don't.
don't. They don't. They're not even gonna remember. They might not even remember the name. People will
No.
always remember how you made them feel,
Yeah.
but not what you did or said or what you even look like.
Nope.
I mean, try closing your eyes and picture your best friend. Very few people can actually draw out a face behind closed eyes. For me, it's like
Yeah.
darkness. Oh, there's a light here. Oh no, that's a light bulb,
Truth.
right?
So
So
true.
thank you, Carrie. This was fun, and I hope everybody loved and enjoyed Carrie being on here and sharing her knowledge, wisdom, and no whiskey right now. It's still early where she is, but I'm sure that will be for for evening celebration, right?
You never know. It's a symbol of celebration. That's all what it is. You got it.
Exactly. So thank you for being on here with me and sharing yourself and being open, honest, and authentic.
Thank you. I really
Oh,
appreciate it. You're a light, and I just so appreciate the opportunity to share some wisdom and some life lessons that I've had along the way.
yeah. To all the girlies that are listening, paying attention, take notes, take action. You know me, my favorite thing to ask is, what is your one biggest takeaway from the whole entire podcast? one big takeaway? What is your aha moment? And then what are you going to do with it? How are you going to apply it? What action are you going to take, little or small or big and giant, however you want? What did you learn? What are you going to do with what you learned? Simple, straightforward. So looking forward to seeing all those comments. And I know there was comments coming in, but we're here living and vibing, and then the comments will be responded once we wrap up. So thank you once again, and I'm sure we'll be doing this again at some point.
I think so too. Thanks so
Thank you.
much.
Until next time.
Yeah,
Bye.
bye-bye.